Greetings to all of you who are listening to us in these special days. And a special thanks to all the representatives of the associations and companies who accepted to be speakers in this first live talk organized by Expo Riva Schuh and Garda bags. This live talk is conducted by the journalist and spokesperson of German Association of Footwear and Leather Goods Industry, Claudia Schulz, that I would like to welcome and thank. Thanks to Matteo Pasca, Managing Director of Photoshoe, who will facilitate the question and answer moment at the end of our roundtable. The guest of this live talk representing leading associations and companies in the footwear industry and will share their point of view, data and information to provide a global outlook on the sector in this special period in terms of health, economic and social issues. I represent one of the most influential trade fairs for the footwear sector, and we are preparing for next edition an hybrid exhibition to allow producers and buyers to participate from all countries, because we want to keep in touch all of you for a profitable business. We are playing the role of a worldwide platform that the footwear for the footwear industry, and I think that is very important to listen what our speaker have to us today. Now is the moment to start, and it's a pleasure for me to give the floor to Claudia to start this live talk, and the watchword is play fashion.
Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you, grazie, Alessandra. It's a very nice introduction and a very warm welcome, everybody, to this digital conference, to the kickoff meeting of the Play Fashion series. This video conference, as Alessandra was already saying, is hosted by Expo Riva Schuh and Garda bags, and it takes place to strengthen the relationship between the exhibition and the community, buyers and exhibitors. And I must say, it's really fantastic to see so many countries on board today. Brazil, China, India, Italy, Portugal, and Germany, of course. Amazing, really amazing that Expo Riva Schuh and Photoshoe managed to bring them together today. In my eyes, this live meeting represents a very, very exciting opportunity for all the active interlocutors and, of course, also for the audience. I heard we have a very big and international audience today watching the event on live stream. I hope you all will enjoy this. Today, we all have the chance to learn more about the views and strategies adopted by the different markets and or players to respond to the current corona pandemic. I'm your moderator today, and some of you might know me. My name is Claudia Schulz, and I'm working in the shoe business. It's almost 30 years now. The title of today's conference is the COVID Storm from Difficulties to Relaunch. And I think the most important thing is to find a valid answer to this question. How can we transform this crisis into an opportunity? Our footwear experts, both from shoe industry and retail, coming from all over the world, will not only provide a clear snapshot on the sector, they will also illustrate the latest consumer trends. We will discuss future predictions and potential ways of supporting the relaunch of the supply chain. In fact, this supply chain, the last mentioned challenge, represents the first round of our conference. We would like to get an idea about the current production situation in the different countries. And now it's my great honor to welcome Mr. Joe Maya, Managing Director of Abicabs and publisher of the World Footwear Yearbook. We are very happy to have you with us, and we will be starting the meeting with your collection of data and forecasts, Mr. Maya. Would you be so kind to give us a short overview of the footwear sector at global level? Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Expo Riva, for this invitation. So, quickly go to the history of the history data. So these numbers are quite new. It's not been published yet. It will be published in the World Footwear Yearbook that will be released in the last day of this July. So here you are previewing the first time these numbers are public. But even so, the numbers are for 2019, and a lot has happened in 2020, and nowadays, meaning numbers showing numbers for 2019 probably won't be the most interesting numbers. So I picked the quick, most important things to keep in mind of this audience. Of course, this is a slide in the distribution of the production worldwide. So China and especially all Asia countries manufacture the mostly part of our shoes. So 90% of our shoes are manufactured in Asia, especially 87% of our shoes are manufactured in Asia, which is a huge number. But the big question is that the specific number is that the prices are increasing. If you are looking at the history of the average prices from the decade between 2000 and 2010, the average export price worldwide has increased 23% in 10 years. So it's a small number, but looking at the growth of the price in the last 10 years, they more than the double of the increase in the last 10, the decade before. So the prices are increasing very fast, and this increase is driven essentially by China prices. So when you look especially for China, the growth of prices in China is very fast. So all shoes coming out of China to the world, the prices are increasing very fast. And of course, that has the consequences on the share of China in the world exports. In the last 8 years, China almost decreased 10 percentage points in their share of world exports. So China that represented in 2012 72% of the world footwear exports are now representing 64%. Of course, China is still the global dominator of the world footwear manufacture. And one big idea is that textile in the last decade has grown a lot because a lot of sneakers are now manufacturing textile for duty questions, because duties on textile shoes usually are lower than rubber and plastic shoes. So here we have a change of the material used. The other idea about historical ideas, because it's numbers for 2019, it's about the share of Europe in the world exports. Now coming to COVID situation. That's what we are here for. We organize a survey. It's a world survey with experts from all over the value chain. We have people coming from the manufacturing area, people coming from the retail, for the brands, and we will ask them what will be the impact of this situation. This survey was organized in April, so we don't at that time we don't have a picture about how long the restrictions on the economy will be in place. So in this time, when we organized this survey, probably most of us were thinking that the restriction will be for 2-3 weeks. But nowadays, looking back, the retail were closed in Europe for more than 2 months. So and in that time, the conclusion was that the consumption in this year of 2020 will have a drop of 22.5% worldwide. So it's a huge number, but it's an important number for us to have this validation. So we are looking at these numbers as an update. We are now trying to figure out what will be the most correct moment to update these figures. But we are working on that, so that probably we'll have a drop of 22 to 30% depending on the market, because in Europe this drop is huge, it's bigger, and this expected drop is bigger. So we are looking at least 20% drop in consumption worldwide. Another important question, it was about the impact on the supply chain, and almost all the responses mentioned that the supply chain will be changing. So brands will look at their supply chain and they'll move to other places looking for diversity, So to have a safer supply chain, you have to be more diversified on the origin of your products. You cannot be focused only on one manufacturing area. And another way of looking at it is that you have to have a shorter supply chain. You cannot depend on this global supply chain where your materials are traveling the world several times before they end with your consumer. Now looking specifically what was happening on shoe stores and in retail in US and Europe. So this chart is quite expressive because when you look for 2019 until August, so until the summer season, the sales were growing between around 5% compared with 2018. After September, when the winter season is coming in, the sales were decreasing already. So the winter season was not very good in the West market, so we have a global decrease of something like 3 or 4%. But where COVID impact was huge, so the retailers in the US market were almost all closed during April, but on May they are already recovering, but at least they are selling half of they sell May 2019. So the spring season were almost lost in the United States, but looking at the European Union, the numbers are quite similar. The numbers for 2019 were quite stable for all markets, no big changes, but the drop is it's huge. So March we sell less than half what we used to sell in March. Almost the retailer in Europe, almost all of them were closed between the second half of March. In April, they are almost closed. They sell 20% of our usual sales, but in May the sales were rebound, and the drop is around 50%. So in the end, we are selling the spring edition were selling very bad, almost all no sales for the spring edition, and now we are looking what will happen in the summer edition because the summer season because during the summer the retail already open, and but we are expecting significant drops even for the June, July, and August sales. These drops are not very regular for all countries, so it depends on the country. So if you look for France or Austria or Spain or Portugal, we are expecting a huge drop. This is the average variation for March to May. But this is, and for some other countries, the drop is quite lower. When we compare the decrease on sales with the restrictions that were imposed by the governments between these 3 months, it's clear that the drop on sales is quietly related with the restrictions that the countries has imposed. Countries with more restrictions are the ones with higher decrease in sales. Countries with less restrictions are, of course, the ones with lower drop in sales. For example, Sweden, which is probably the countries with less restrictions during these months, are the one that has less drop in sales. Of course, we don't know what will happen. Nowadays, this is my numbers. I think I already surpassed my time, but I just want to remember that we are living a moment of huge uncertainty. And that's the big question at the moment. What is the uncertainty that we are living and what will happen in the future? And the impact of that on the consumer expenses. So if consumers are not comfortable on spending their money, they won't spend money, and that will impact on the business conditions for all the value chain.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Maya. That was really impressive, interesting, and also, unfortunately, a little bit dramatic what is happening. And you said it's very uncertain. But what you gave us, it's a very good basis to continue with our meeting. And now we're going from Southwest to, let's say, Far East. Let me now turn to Mr. Yu Zhong, chairman of the Chinese Leather Industry Association. Mr. Yu Zhong, tell us, have you returned to 100% production capacity in your country again?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, and good noon to different people. The total production returned to about 70% of the normal level now. The large-scale COVID-19 pandemic broke out at the early beginning of the 2020. The influence on Chinese footwear industry of the 2020 was an unexpected disaster. In February, the total production reduced by more than 50%, even 80% for some of the companies. The bigger companies began to resume the production from the middle and later February. Although at the quite low operating rate, the small companies resumed the production much later than big ones. In the first 5 months, the growth rate of scales revenue of about 4,000 companies declined by 16%. Here, the 4,000 company are those with annual sales above 20 million yuan. If we take the other small companies into consideration, the situation might be worse. The exports of the total footwear industry declined by 34% and 31% in terms of volume and value, respectively, in the first 5 months. So, generally speaking, the total production returned to about 17% of the normal level. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yuzong. And now I would like to turn to Mr. Amit. Mr. Amit is the chairman of the Council for Leather Exports coming from India. And of course, we also would like to know, when do you think it will be possible to start working in India? I think it's a very dramatic situation in India now. And just tell us what is going on, in what way.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. And also thanks to the organization, Riva Schuh Garda, for giving an opportunity to express about Indian opportunities here. First of all, I would like to thank this great digital footwear meeting that we are having. And I've also been conducting in the recent time various meetings with various countries. So it means almost like I'm traveling in spite of the close downs. So we've been in America, we've been in Moscow, we had a digital fair just 2 days back. We had with Korea, we had with Vietnam. So we have been very busy in our activities. So the COVID has not stopped us from moving. Yes, the moving. You see, the crisis comes from different forms, and it's a challenge to the humanity. But how we bounce back, how do we bounce back is very important for us for the revival of our industry. In India, yes, of course, we have been in the lockdown, and from 26th March to 17th May, it's approximately about 50 days, and then we had a partial lockdown. So partial lockdown is just like 50% of your production you can run, and this is mainly restricted to the city location factories. But if you are in the rural area on the on the other side of the towns, then you are still able to work 100% of the production. As such, businesses, of course, when on the 17th of March, when we had the cancellation, we almost got the cancellation of $1 billion from Europe, America, and rest of the world. But we thought that was the end of the world. But we never thought there is a new world which is being, which is going to come. So we are happy to see now the industry and the business is coming forward. See, the April and May, of course, we had 17% is what we exported. And also when America and Europe and Italy and rest of the world also were under lockdown, we were under the lockdown. So the impact has not affected so much. But when you started opening the economy and then we started opening our industry, so it was almost like matching. Now we did in May and June, we did 60% of the last year's production, just in May and June. And July, August, and September, we feel that we would do 85% of the last year's production. So, which means that we did about 5 billion last year and 5.6 earlier. So, we are confident that we will come back strongly. But going forward, like many of the earlier speakers also mentioned about the spring summer, is what is a big difficulties that everyone is facing. But at the same time, I have to thank our government and our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, for taking a very, very strong steps in the beginning of the spread. Also, you have to understand, we have huge population, but still, we are very, very much under control of the COVID-19. Supply chain is disrupted. Of course, supply chain has been a big question mark. How are we going to progress? But I'm very confident that also the domestic industry, we are almost like second highest producer of footwear, for example. So we have a huge presence of domestic as well as we have a lot of export opportunities here. And you know that in consumption wise, China is number 1, India is number 2, USA is number 3. So we are second into that stage. And as far as the stability of the business, yes, of course, the whole world has shaken now, and we are confident that we'll come back to normalcy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amit. Very quick. And what I feel is that you're really confident and optimistic, and this is a good thing already. And I'm very happy to say hello to Mrs. Leticia Spert Marcelli. She's the General Manager of Brazilian Footwear Project. And, well, just let us know, are you able to estimate the impact of COVID-19 on the Brazilian production chain? What do you think?
Well, yes, we have a few numbers. Actually, the impacts of the COVID, we started to feel it, but in a moderate way. Early January, we couldn't actually tell it was because of the COVID, but now it's quite clear. But it hit us strongly around March because of our domestic market. The first cases in Brazil were late February, early March. So mid-March, we started the social distancing and all those measures. And then we had an impact here in Brazil because our domestic market represents around 87% of all our production. When we look to exports, we have a 24.6% decrease in our exports in this first half of the year. Okay? And what we can see is that Brazil somehow, and then I think João Maia mentioned in the beginning of his speech, that there is a rearrangement of the worldwide production. And we can see that happening because many buyers are looking to Brazil as an alternative for sourcing. We are being demanded. We have, in Brazil, we can. I'm not sure if everybody is aware, but we are the largest footwear producers outside of Asia. And then what we can see is that the security we can offer nowadays is key for that in terms of deadlines, in terms of agility, flexibility. Even we're here talking about big volumes, but even when you talk about big volumes, they are not as big as they were before. So in Brazil, we can work with smaller volumes, even for specific developments. And this is a positive side of things. And another thing that we could notice from the pandemic is our supply chain, because Brazil has the complete supply chain here available. We have leather, we have artifacts, components, machinery, we have everything here in Brazil. And our supply chain has been in a movement of union, you know. They understand that together we are stronger. So our lead time is better. Our prices are more competitive because we are working together. And that's how we are moving now with this pandemic. So we are together and we are moving on together. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you, Leticia. Very optimistic and very good news. I'm very happy about this. And despite all the dramatic situation of the pandemic, there is something good inside because, as you told us, you're working together and you're getting even stronger. It's really the time to talk about supply, about orders, about demand in the footwear business. I would like to start this round with Mr. Alessi from Bata Europe. And Mr. Alessi, we have talked a lot about contagion curves during this period. Does a curve exist that describes the trend of the pandemic regarding retail in your sector or in our sector? And at what point are we now? How is the demand? We would like to know this. And how is the consumption situation after the reopening? Mr. Alessi.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me. I can talk now 5 minutes. I try to be on time with your 5 minutes, Claudia, telling more the key points in what was happening in the last 3 months and what we think will happen in the future. First of all, after the lockdown, we suffering a lot of the business, also the e-commerce, especially in the beginnings, selling only kits and slippers because the people were at home, not thinking about buy shoes. With the reopening, we start the first month very, very strong, also because I believe we prepare a very strong campaign called È ora di uscire, it's time to go out in TV, in the social, and we try to transfer this message to the customer after 2 months or 3 months at home, go out, try to spend some money, to enjoy, to buy some shoes. And this was working very well. The store was performing above last year in the first month, and the e-commerce really was flying. Even if in Italy, and especially in our company, e-commerce doesn't represent a big percentage. Yes, you increase e-commerce, but you decrease the retail, the really our bread in our company. What we notice, what we are noticing now, that the business is coming back. We are not at the level that last year, but the people now are going out. Even if, again, we are noticing that in the touristic area, really the business is collapsing because there is no one think about Venice, Rome, Florence, Torino, Bologna, especially in Italy. And in the places, in the working places with the big offices like Milan and Roma, with this smart working, is totally changing the attitude of the customer. There is no one in the offices. They are at home, they don't go around, and then they don't spend money in our store. We are noticing that in the shopping mall medium, in the city medium and small, the people are buying much more than before. It means that with the epidemic curve that is going down, the confidence of the people is going up, and the people now, they go to the store with a mask, with whatever you want, but they enjoy to buy again. What is the challenges that now we are facing? First of all, the footfall is decreasing a lot. It means people are entering in the store less and less, and our customer service is improving because the conversion rate is improving. It means that the few people that are coming in the store are spending more money. If they go inside, they already go out from the home with the idea to buy shoes. Now, listening to the people before me as expert in production, now will be a challenge for the next season, because now we are trying to clean up the stock, but frankly speaking, we are not sure what China, India or Brazil, because listening to the TV, there is a big problem there for the coronavirus. And we are not sure if all the shoes that we commit or we place the order, they can deliver and they can dispatch in the right time. Because again, we are in touch with our supplier and they say that they scare to work because the virus is there. But anyway, we are going ahead. We are still opening a store because again, we have to think, like you said before, is a crisis, but it could be opportunity for someone, because in the end, we see that many stores are closing down, unluckily, and we are not happy. But in the other side, the people need shoes, and somewhere they have to buy. For this, we are preparing ourselves. Again, we are working, we are totally changing the relationship with the supplier and with the landlord. We are looking for supplier that they can react very fast, they can dispatch, they can produce in short time, because in the moment of the crisis, cash is king. And when you are lack of cash in a company, you can have consequences very bad. For this, we are looking to a good relation with the supplier, with the landlord, especially for the owner of our stores, because we are negotiating daily the rent, but we are confident in the way that we have to go ahead, and we have to be positive to transfer this message to the people, because again, we have to think positive and not negative. This is for me is the 5 minutes, Claudia.
Thank you. Very times. Thank you so much, Mr. Alessi. And what I learned now is your campaign is fantastic. Time to go out, and I think it's time to go out with shoes. That's the thing. And you said cash is king, but I think it's also good relationship that is king. Confidence and good relationship. I would now like to speak to Mr. Krug. Mr. Krug from Germany, from Sabu. Of course, it's always difficult to make predictions, and we believe that it is harder now than ever. We all know this, but I would like to ask you how you are getting organized to be sure to be ready. Are you ready?
Sure, we are ready. Thank you, Claudia, for the nice introduction. Hello to everybody in Europe and around the world. I mean, obviously, if I look at the title supply and demand, I'd like to rephrase that and say supply much closer to demand. Yeah? Because, and as Claudia rightly said, crisis is always an opportunity. And that gave us a chance during the Corona crisis, basically also to take a closer look at the business and rethink the business model that we are operating. Sabu is a buying group, and we represent about 600 shoe retailers in Germany, which are operating about 1,200 stores. Sabu has a market share of about 10% in Germany, so I think it's quite a representative group of people and looking at the market in this way. We found, generally speaking, already before the crisis that we were a bit out of sync regarding basically delivery timetables. And that being said, we started an initiative talking to our main suppliers and obviously having talked before to our retailers and saying, okay, guys, we need additional time to sell spring summer. And basically we need the autumn winter merchandise to come into the stores about 4 to 6 weeks later than we would normally take it under the old, let's say, roof. And we got an agreement and a buy-in across the trade in Germany, and basically agreeing that we want to postpone and are postponing autumn-winter deliveries by 4 to 6 weeks, giving more time, 4 to 6 weeks more time for sell-through of the surplus spring-summer stock, ideally at full price. That being said, we also tackled the general issue that we had and said, okay, now let's take the opportunity at that point in time and revise the system as a whole, meaning adjust the general timetable, not only for spring, summer, and autumn, winter 2020, but beyond that, and also adjust the fares if possible, and put that in a package where we agree on a new timetable, basically, which is closer to this ready-to-wear ideal that we have in mind and much closer to the demand, And obviously that led to us setting up this new timetable, which is now between 4 and 6 weeks later than we had before. Overall, basically, we had a great response to that. We got the buy-in to that. And we had some more critical comments. That would be too good to be true. We can't believe that this is going to work. We would like to do that, but you are living in an ideal world. And basically, obviously, we also were a bit pessimistically realistic. But we said, let's give it a try and see if it works. And if it works, perfect. That's all we want. And having looked now of what we achieved, and that is, I think, the great success story of this new concept for all. We have very, very decent sale activity until now. We sold much longer on regular price. We have stores that are not full of merchandise, spring, summer, autumn, winter, mixed all together, sale mixed with regular merchandise. So basically, we have really achieved a much more proper setup. We have, I think, a setting that is putting together supply and demand to consumer demand, actual consumer demand at point of sale. And the whole initiative is a success, in my opinion, but we need to carry on with that through 2020, 21, 22, and the following season. That's it. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Mr. Krug. So the first aim is achieved. That is very good. And it's again the thing about flexibility, to be closer to the market. And I think we all agree with this. Now I would like to turn to Mr. Silvani from Valle Verde. And I have some special questions. What are your expectations regarding physical direct retail channels and e-commerce, physical and e-commerce, multi-brand wholesale? Do you think that these channels will pick up sooner, or will they have more of a struggle? Very special questions, and we are very curious what you're going to say.
Yes. First of all,
yes. Mm-hmm.
We would like to thank you for inviting us to this very important webinar, because at this point in time, having skipped the Fair of June, it is also very important to us to try to understand also from other stakeholders in the footwear market how the situation is. Now, even for us, the lockdown was very long and very difficult, because we spent the entire month of March, April, and also most of the month of May, having produced all the shoes for the spring-summer collection, and only the closed part of the shoes was delivered to the shops. The sandals still had to be delivered. Unlike the gentleman from India, we are not thanking our Prime Minister, because for the entire month of April we had hoped that we could resume our activity on Monday the 4th of May, which would have given us the entire month of May to work. It was decided due to the situation in Italy that it was a safer option to go for a lockdown until the 18th of May, and this basically wasted an extra month for us, so we could only resume working at the end of the month. So this created for us a challenge both on the spring-summer 2020 and for the autumn-winter 2021, because for the spring-summer 2020 we had to negotiate with all of our clients, which are mainly small and medium retailers all across the country here in Italy, if they still wanted to accept the entire order at a small discount, or instead of a discount, they wanted to reduce the order. We gave them these two options because we wanted, of course, to make sure that our warehouse didn't remain full, but at the same time we didn't want to discount too much our product, which would have created problems for our brand. So at the end of the day, we can say now that we are well into July, that we managed to deliver more than 80% of our shoes to the clients, and we only have 20% of the spring-summer 2020 in our warehouses, which we will, of course, need to sell the following year. Now, as far as the autumn-winter collection, we also had a problem because before the lockdown, we were very much into the sales campaign, and we were very happy about it because we were already registering orders of which were more than 40% higher with respect to the last winter. So we were very happy about it. But obviously, after the lockdown, we decided that it was a safer bet to cancel all the orders for the autumn season and go back to all the clients and redo the order from scratch. So basically, we gave this option to the client. The clients, of course, made a reduced order for the autumn-winter collection, which is also going to create a safety net for our company, because for the autumn-winter season, we are pretty much sure that the amount of goods that we are going to produce will be matched by what we will be able to deliver. So this will, of course, allow for the financial situation of our company to remain in a healthy shape as it has always been. Regarding the clients, and now after this introduction, I am coming to your question. We have, as we do every season, asked for a sample of sellout data from our clients as of the end of June, and we observed the following. If you are looking purely at the number of shoes that were sold, on the face of it, the sellout data was very good. I would say, net of the coronavirus crisis, at the end of June, the number of shoes that exited the shops was a very good number. But when you go and break down what kind of shoes you have actually sold, that's where you see the problem. As the gentleman before was saying, children's sandals were the top performance. But when it comes to adult shoes, what we saw is that the final customer is really going to get more price conscious. So if you divide our shoes by the final retail price, you are seeing that the most basic slippers and sandals that are selling up to 29 euros are the one with the highest sellout. Then the shoes that are selling in the range of the 30 euros up to 39 have a slightly lower sellout data, and so on. Each time you are going to the following price bracket, then the sellout is decreasing, and the most expensive shoes are, of course, the ones that are selling less. So this is what we saw, that the number of shoes is good, but the average prices is going down and down. So if we are trying to analyze what kind of shops are working well, I would say we agree with the previous speaker. We are also observing that the biggest cities and the tourist spots are the ones that are mostly hardly hit. Secondly, the shops that are located in big shopping malls are also somewhat hit by this crisis, because people are finding more complicated and less appealing to go to a shopping mall where you are in a closed environment and you are meeting a lot of people without proper social distancing, while the shops that are really performing well for us are the smaller shops that are located in smaller cities where they have a clientele which is more local and more loyal. So going forward, we believe that the future will be for those shops that, first of all, either they own the walls or they have a very low rent to be paid. Also, the future will be of the shops where the owner of the shops is actually working inside, and also the cost of the personnel is very low. While what we are, of course, observing is that the bigger surfaces where they have bigger rents to be paid and bigger personnel costs are the ones that are facing the bigger difficulties. And of course, we have already observed in the last 2 months that two big chains of footwear retailers in Italy went into creditor protection, and this is, in our opinion, absolutely in line of what we are saying. Regarding the e-commerce, instead, the situation is a lot more tricky, I would say. First of all, we have not engaged in e-commerce so far because our company is calibrated on a different business model. But what we are observing from the market is that e-commerce means, unfortunately, small margins. E-commerce means small margins for the giants who are actually operating in e-commerce. I've read a very interesting article on The Economist a couple of weeks ago about Amazon. They were analyzing the company. They are, of course, making lots of money, billions and billions of dollars on cloud, data storage, and so on and so forth. But their margins on the retail activities is as low as 1% outside of the United States. This morning, we were having a conversation here also with the logistic and expeditioners companies that we are working here in Italy, and they're saying for them transporting cartons with a weight that is higher than 30 kilos per carton is a profitable business, while engaging in e-commerce where they are delivering small packages of, which are of course even lighter than 1 kilo is not a profitable business at all. And even for the final producer, e-commerce means setting up warehouses where they need to manage not only the carton but also the single pair, and this is of course not a profitable business at all. So as far as the e-commerce, we are a bit lukewarm about the prospects because we do not see it as being a profitable business basically for anyone.
Now I would like to speak to Mr. Amit again, and I would like to know from Mr. Amit as a strategy for the future, what is he thinking? What will be most important? Pushing the production for domestic consumption or positioning India as a leader in international sourcing? Maybe both. Just tell us, Mr. Amit.
See, India's domestic presence is huge. We almost have 90% of our production is for the domestic industry, and only 10% we do export. And we see both post-COVID, we see both as a great opportunity for us. And but I also feel that the industry and the business needs some corrections, because if you could see that there are plenty of products were available at a very, very cheap price. So this market has been flooded, whether in all over the world. And there has to be a demand. There has to be an increase in demand. People have to wait for the products. And that's how we should come back to normalcy, not to again flood the market with the cheap product and too many products. So what happens, the value for the consumer is less when you have too many products in the business, in the market. So I feel that people have learned, including us, including my own company, we learned that but we have to have a correction in our business. Whatever the mistakes that we have done in the past, we have to correct them now. And we have been sitting at home for almost 3 months now. We have been dreaming a lot. So when you dream at your home, you get a lot of good ideas. So we have got a lot of new energy in us. The whole India is optimistic of the future. And I can tell you that based on not on the current situation, our government has already made a plan for 4 industrial parks, which you will see in the media very soon. So we're going to have footwear park, 4 footwear parks. So we are actually planning to have increased growth in our business. The one thing I just felt that important for us also is the prices. I meant to say that, yes, it is not to be cheap. That does not mean that I meant to say that there are too many players. For example, there are excessive suppliers, there are excessive buyers. So it happens. There has to be a demand. And also there is a need of price correction is definitely required at this moment, because at the end of the day, the consumer has to be satisfied with the price and the product which they are buying. You asked me about India. India has made a lot of reform. I mean, not about the domestic industry. We have made a lot of reforms in recent time. If you see, the GST was introduced about 3 years back, and it has come into a very effective system. It says one tax, one nation. Wherever you buy in a country, you pay one simple tax for the consumer product. So in this way, what happened? The growth has also happened. Otherwise, in earlier period, we used to have 3-4 taxes, multiple taxes. Now we have only one tax. And as an exporter, this is not being, you get refund of those taxes. So that domestically also you get a refund when you pass on to the consumer, and also an export. So today, export and domestic industry are together facing a huge challenges, and we are very sure that this will come. At the same time, anything which has gone down so badly now with this health crisis, economic crisis, every crisis, but the world has seen all the political crisis over the world. But the only way to come back is that we have to believe in history, and we have to have faith that we are going to come back faster. And I'm sure that there will be a rebound in the production and also economy, and the world is determined. But how long is the question, because how long we all can survive. But I think it's a very difficult time, and I'm sure that India is a great destination for sourcing. I said earlier also, because we have a great policy, we have a great government, we have a great currency, stable currency, and we also have an economically, self-reliant economy, which means we are not very much dependent on imports. So we have both consumption in-house and also the export, and also we have a very good bilateral trade with the world, and that has made it easy with EU, with America, and other countries. So this period is very, very crucial for us. I was speaking in various forums, and I mentioned that we crossed one bridge. One bridge we crossed from April, May, and June. The second bridge we are crossing July, August, September, and the next bridge will be crossing October, November, December. And I'm estimating that it all will be over. Before that, I just wanted to put in record that everyone today has to thank the medical fraternity of the world who have saved our life. So in spite of such a great health crisis today, I cannot imagine. So our business is secondary. The people who have stood forward to save our life more than anything has to be thanked, and the whole world has to thank the medical fraternity all over the world. With this, I'm hoping that India is going to be, for sure, a winning country with all this competition. And thank you again for such an opportunity to speak to the most learned people and the most intelligent people who are listening to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Aki. That was very, very kind. And I think it's true. We always have to be aware of this, of course. And it's very interesting what you were saying, that it's both. And you were talking about dream and energy. And I think these are both very important features everyone should have, despite of all digital ideas. So I would say let's all stay creative, confidential, and of course optimistic. I hope all of you enjoyed this conference. Thanks to everyone. Thanks for your support. And for me, it was a big pleasure to discuss with you, to guide you to this conference. And now it's time to say goodbye. Arrivederci. See you in Riva. See you in Riva in December under the Christmas tree. And we will all be there. And now I wish you all a happy and healthy summer. Take care and stay healthy.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you to all. Thank you to all of you. It has been a great opportunity to gain different point of view on the international production and market and situation, and our awareness of challenge we are facing has grown stronger and stronger. My best wishes to all of you, and I remind all that Expo Riva Schuh Garda Bags live talks continue in September and in November, and I hope that you stay with us in the next edition. Thank you all, and see you soon. Goodbye from Riva de Garda.